Shaken from that because I had learned a lot. I mean, yeah, it was a really tough time, and I'm grateful to this day that it happened. I'm grateful to this day that it happened so early because I learned a lot from that. So once that happened, I started kind of doing a real deep dive and figuring out what I need to do with the next chapter in my life. So I'm a superintendent for a restoration contractor, and through that is where I kind of found, or I like to say, the roofing industry found me, or I guess the insurance restoration industry found me. And so from there is when I started figuring out what insurance adjusters did and kind of how they operated, and I was in a really tough spot financially. So what I ended up doing was deciding to become an insurance adjuster. So I moved to Texas because I figured out that if I got a license as a resident in Texas, I was able to that license reciprocated in 32 other states. So that was it. That was my solution to my big hole that I had gotten myself into. I was going to go chase hurricanes and chase storms and make all the money back and change my life. Little did I know, they told you where to go, how long to be there, and I was working 7 days a week, away from my family, away from my home, and that was fairly short-lived. I spent about a year committing to that career, and again, kind of ended up hitting a dead end. But again, I learned a lot, made some mistakes, I failed, but I learned a lot. And then come 2009, that is when I ended up getting into the roofing industry. And as some of you know, who was around in 2009? Okay, yeah, Jason, some of you, yeah. So 2009 was kind of a big turning point for our local economy and our local roofing industry, or restoration industry. And in 2009 is when I got a call from a friend of mine who was in Denver. I was living in Texas, and he said, "Hey man, I can get you a job for a roofing contractor. I know you're in between deployments as an insurance adjuster. Come out to Denver, and I'll get you selling roofs." Here we go. I had nothing else to lose, so packed up my truck. 2 days later, drove back here to Colorado, and somehow, some way, ended up being really good at roofing sales. So for a couple of years, I just absolutely destroyed it doing roofing sales. Did a really good job with that. Got so busy that I had to hire an assistant, and that's what ultimately led me to starting my own roofing company. I got into this industry kind of blindly, didn't know a lot about it, but I quickly figured out that it was pretty primitive, and that there was a lot of contractors that didn't necessarily have all the values that I had, and that's what happened was we didn't see eye to eye. We didn't necessarily have the same value system. So I just got to a place where, you know what, I already had this construction company. It was kind of dormant at the time. So what I did was start a roofing company. So 2010 is when we started Elite Roofing, and since then, for the first couple 2-3 years, we did okay. You know, we were just basically in a situation where my worst case scenario was I knew how to sell roofs, I know how to knock doors, I had my mom to help me with paperwork. What's to lose, right? So I might as well just go ahead and do that. So for the first couple of years, we kind of, just stayed stagnant. We grew, we doubled. We started at, I'm going to show you guys this. We started about 500,000 the first year. Year 2, we little more than doubled. Year 3, we doubled again. We were kicking ass. We were killing it. We thought we were on top of the world. Year 4 came. What happened there? We tried to expand. Tried to expand too fast. We decided we were going to be storm chasers. We decided we were going to go to a new market and expand our company. Problem was, we didn't have process in place. We didn't have systems in place to be able to do that. So we spread ourselves so thin that we ended up losing almost $1 million when we were on this huge trajectory of doubling every year. So that was definitely a big learning experience. From there, we did another real deep dive and figured out what are we going wrong. We knew we have something here. We know this industry is great. What can we do better? And at that point, we committed to our people, we committed to process, and we committed to doing things differently. And as you can see, that start helped get us to this point, to this point, to this point, and then all the way up to here, which is where we are at currently. So what I'm going to talk about today is 3 strategies that I've learned in order to get through this point, and then also to get through this point. So there's another little fun little picture of our company. We're a family company. This is my mom right here. She's been with me since day one. And then my brother-in-law, Michael, he's one of our top salesmen, has been around for 7 years. Just about everyone in this picture spent more than 5 years with our company. So the big question I get all the time is, how do I start working on my business, not working in my business? How many people have more than 3 employees? Okay, and it's how many people are still kind of getting going and running a lot of things on their own? Okay. Number one, first thing is people. Okay, you can't build a business without people. You can hire a bunch of people, you can throw a bunch of people out there, you can give them a job, but how do you make them perform? And how do you get them all centered into their lanes to where they're all working towards a common goal? A goal that you set out as a business owner, as a leader in your business. So I'll tell a story of how we got through this. What we did is we had already had I think about 10 employees, and what we did every year, this time of year is when I start doing deep dives. I'm starting to figure out, okay, what did we do wrong last year? What did we do right? What can we improve on? What can we do better? How do we fix things? How do we make things better? So this past year, what we did was we actually issued DISC assessment tests to every one of our employees, including ourselves. And then we actually sat everybody down and we went through those DISC assessment tests. And we talked about what our strengths were. We talked about what our weaknesses were. And what that did, that really not only did it bring everybody together and get everybody to know each other on a different level, but it also helped us as owners get everybody into their lane. You know, I kind of called it shuffling the deck. What we found was we did the DISC assessment test, and then what we did, we illustrated all the duties and responsibilities. We literally wrote, I got on a big whiteboard. I'm a big whiteboard guy. I have a huge whiteboard in my office, and I can sit and play with that thing for hours. It's awesome. So what we did, we sat down as a management team and wrote down all the duties and responsibilities. And then what we did, we had our staff write down all their duties and responsibilities. We combined the two, one, to see if the management knew what the employees were doing, and if the employees actually knew what they were supposed to be doing. What we found was a lot of people were crossing over. Okay, we had some people working in production that were also helping with billing. We had people in billing that were helping with marketing. We had people, and a lot of crossover was happening. So what we were able to do is, we like to say shuffle the deck. We essentially wiped the slate clean, created new job descriptions, new positions for everybody, compared that with their strengths, and then put them in a position that's going to help them excel. That was the first step. That was an amazing thing for us. So, and then after you get something like that done, even if it's just you, it works. Start with giving yourself an assessment test. Figure out where your strengths are. Focus on enhancing your strengths, and what you're not good at, delegate to someone else. Find someone else that is good at that. So then after that, we started working on these. I mean, this is something that's a little bit more advanced, so I can do a whole session on just this stuff. But SOP, what that is a standard operating procedure. We created job descriptions, and we created employee agreements for everybody. So now, every time we expand and every time we hire somebody, we have a whole process for onboarding. They get an employee agreement before they even get a paycheck. We sit down with them, go through their employee agreement, give them exactly their duties, responsibilities, what they do know, great, what they don't know. We put them on a schedule and we get them trained. So here's just a graphic of what you can do to take this right away and implement this in your own company. Whether it's one person, 5 people, or 10 people, this is just an example of what we did. So we started off, put their name down, what their job title was or is, or what the job title is that you think should be for that specific position. Write down all the job duties, and this can be a fairly long list. And then the key to all of this is deliverables. Once you have descriptions, once you have tasks written out there, how do you hold people accountable? You got to have a deliverable. And what that is some sort of a measurable outcome, something that you can measure to grade people on. And that's what those deliverables are. So you create those within each position. Oftentimes those deliverables need to have some sort of common theme or common goal that the company is striving towards. So that was the first one. The second one is run your company by the numbers. Okay, when I showed you the graph there, the first 4 years, I had no clue. I had barely even looked at a profit and loss statement. I knew what it was because I went to college. I had a class on it, took accounting classes, but did I ever apply that? No, I didn't understand what numbers were. And this is where the technology comes into play. And back to the chart, back to our graph, the first little segment, what I was talking about, that's when we first realized, okay, we need to do a better job of tracking. Because if you can track it, you can measure it. And if you can measure it, you can get better at it. So track everything. And not, this isn't just use a spreadsheet. This is a combination of a good accounting software. I'm assuming most people use QuickBooks. Is that correct? Okay, that's pretty common in the industry. QuickBooks, Contractor, this is a great program. But that tied with CRM, and that's where JobNimbus comes into play. And what JobNimbus really helped us out with was creating and giving us a platform that we can customize and build towards our business model. Okay, before we were on a program that kind of had us handcuffed, where we had to kind of conform our business model to what their software allowed, whereas we don't really consider ourselves just like every other company. We don't want to be like every other company. We want to do things our own way and kind of figure out processes that work for us, not for somebody else. And that's what led us to buying into a software platform that was that you can customize and that was going to grow and be able to tailor to our different business models that we had within our business. So when it comes to running your numbers, it's important to understand, start off by tracking everything, and then you know what your fixed costs are. Okay, I didn't know what my fixed costs really were. I thought I knew. And for those of you on the fixed costs, these are things like your overhead. This is gas, fuel, overhead, office, electricity, those sort of things. Get a really good idea. Figure out exactly what those are, and then start dissecting that. Figure out what it is annually, monthly, all the way down to the week. You should know what it costs to operate your company every single week. You should know what money is going out every week to keep your lights on. And that's a great basis to start when you're wanting to make the transition into growing and building and scaling your company, all the while trying to take yourself out to get more of a 30,000-foot view of it. And then you figure out your variable costs. Okay, the variable, obviously this is all the stuff that's, or cost of goods sold is another term. And this is the stuff that's directly correlated to your jobs. How many people in here do job costing or are familiar with what job costing is? Okay, most everybody, and that's great. Job costing is more than just figuring out what your materials and your labor is. Okay, a lot of things, there are a lot of different costs that go into every single job. For instance, Eagle View. You order an Eagle View. That's a job cost, right? If you do supplementing, a lot of people do supplementing in here and those sort of things. If you do supplementing, that's a job cost. It should be costed onto that job. So anything, you do an analysis, and anything that you can cost to a job, get with your accountant and figure out how to get it attached to the job. We've even implemented marketing. I assign marketing to my jobs. You know, we want to expand our marketing and give more leads to our guys. If they're not going to go out and knock doors and get their own leads, how do I expand that? How do I pay for that? We job cost it. So then you figure out what your cost of goods sold are, your overhead, the gross profit, net income, and then this one is important. Once you know all these numbers, you can analyze that and you can actually create a budget. And you can start that by finding a critical number. And what a critical number is, this is one specific number that you as an owner can rally your troops around. And this number changes. This number can change when it comes to every quarter. It can change monthly. As you know, we're all in construction, right? It's seasonality, right? There's a certain season we're just absolutely busy, and the rest of the time we're chasing our tail trying to collect our money. Is that about right? Construction is kind of like shoving a baseball through a garden hose. And you got to kind of figure out how to get that done. And this is the way to do it. Find that critical number. For instance, our critical number this year and this quarter is days sales outstanding. DSO is what it's referred to. What that is the time a contract happens to the time you close it. I think there's a few contractors in here that can relate to me on that one. It's a critical number because you can go sell a whole bunch. I mean, I can hire 50 sales guys and send them out there and sell a crap load of roofs and put big numbers up. But if I can't effectively produce that, and more importantly, collect all that, I'm going to fail. Or I'm going to get myself in a really tight spot. So find out what your critical number is, and that critical number should change, as the cycle of the business changes. And then what you want to do is set a company goal based on that critical number. And then as you develop your staff's deliverables, those deliverables should all be geared towards that critical number as well. So you go into our office, everyone in there knows our focus is to figure out within whatever segment of the business you have, figure out what you can do to shorten that time frame of us getting collected. So when it comes to the supplement department, the sales department, the billing department, the production department, every single department has a say and has something to do with our critical number and how we get that done. So here's just an example of what you can do to create a budget. Now this is another thing, going back to my chart, I had never even done this until 2 years ago. No clue. Budget, what's that? I got a budget, I got 100 grand in my account, I go spend 50 on something, sure. That was my budget. Didn't happen. Got ourselves into really tough spots that way. So what you could do is this is just hypothetical, this is based on 5 million, you can do it 1 million, 100,000, 200,000, 20 million, however you want to do it. Take your last 2 to 3 years. I'm assuming, how long has everybody been in business here? More than 5 years. Okay, great. More than 3 years. Who's under 3 years? Congratulations, you're going to be excelled from this, from this stuff. Because I wish I would have known this stuff a long time ago. I was 10 years into my career before I even really started understanding how to run my business by my numbers. So what you want to do is take your last 3 years of business, figure out what your average growth rate is. And in for this example, we had a 20% growth rate. So hypothetically, total revenue is $5 million. And then cost of goods sold, I did it. And this is actually fairly similar, fairly close to industry standards. So the cost of goods sold should be right around 75%. And this includes commissions. This includes everything that you can tie to a job. Okay, so that's kind of a target budget for a lot of construction companies. And then from there, you got your gross profit at 25%. Same thing with fixed costs. It's a good idea to try to get your fixed costs around the 15% mark. Leaves you 10% at the end of the day. I know it's a little bit simplistic on the percentages, but these are actually percentages that we really shoot for, that we strive to get. And you can, if I were to show you my actual numbers, they're off. Every one of them are within 5% of this. And then you take that budget, you add everything, you do 20%, and then it gets you an idea of what your projection is going to be for the next year. So you set a budget for that. So say I plan on growing about 20%. What are the initiatives I'm going to do to accomplish that 20% growth? And then you figure out what your budget is for that. Okay, if you're going to grow by $1 million and you're budgeting 15% for fixed costs, maybe you have $1 million, maybe you have a little bit of room to hire someone important. Hire a manager, hire somebody that can start taking away some of those hats that you're wearing. That's the whole objective here, is to give yourself an idea of what to spend. Before, I was just hiring, spending. You get the report at the end of the year, and you're like, wow, why didn't I make any money? I put up $5 million and didn't make any money. How'd that happen? Oh, I had this many people that I didn't need to have. I was paying these people too much. This truck broke down on me 8 times, and I put thousands of dollars into it. Those sort of things. If you track this stuff on a micro level, you can make micro decisions. And believe me, when you're running a business and trying to grow a business, you're way better off making small decisions that make slight course corrections than you are getting to the end of the year and realizing that you made a big mistake financially, big mistake with personnel, or a big mistake with the third thing I'm going to talk about. So it's a lot easier to steer a ship 1 degree at a time than it is to completely turn that thing around. Third thing, manage your priorities and your time with a purpose. This is huge, guys. I'm a reader. Oh, I say reader. We have people who like to read books. Anybody read business books? Okay, I like to say I'm a reader, but really I'm a listener. Reading comprehension, terrible. I barely even made it into college. But I can listen really well. And when I travel, Audible is one of the best inventions in the world. So I listen to a lot of entrepreneurship books, and I study a lot of really successful entrepreneurs. I've read every one of the Shark Tank books. And one of the common things that I've found from every entrepreneur, every multi-gajillionaire that I've studied, is that they have a really, really, really high priority with their time. They hold their time above all else. I mean, how do you think Mark Cuban can run a basketball team and a bunch of other multi-gajillion-dollar companies? Really, really precise time management, as well as great people and running its business by the numbers. So it's what I've come from that is time is the most valuable asset you all have. Time is the most valuable asset to any entrepreneur and any manager and any employee. It's not just for leaders and entrepreneurs. Time is very, very important. So we need to be thinking about that. It's really easy to get tied up in the day-to-day and play defense all day. You know, the phone rings on Monday, and by the time we even get done with our coffee, we have 4 fires to go put out. Oh, materials are late here. We need to go figure this out. This order didn't get done right. We're leaking this. This is an issue here. My subcontractor didn't show up. You know, all these sort of things just start piling on top of, oh, I need to get my orders out. Oh, I need to get my billing done. I need to get all these things done. Oh, by the end of the week, I didn't do anything with marketing. I didn't look at any numbers, and I didn't work on my business whatsoever. So the key to that is you got to chip away at it one piece, one segment at a time. Because as many of you know, it's really easy to let an entire week, month, years go by where we're just working in our business, wearing all the hats, playing defense, fielding calls, and just trying to help everyone else without actually setting time aside to work on our own business and strategize the growth and strategize how we are going to achieve our goals as entrepreneurs. So I'm going to go through kind of an idea of how I was able to do this. Starts off with making a list. Take a list, and we don't have enough time today, but maybe later we'll work on it or on your breaks. You got notebook paper there. Make a list. Write down at least 5 or 10 responsibilities that you do any given day or any given week. Write them all down. Okay, and then prioritize those. Take what's the most important one to the growth of your company. What's most important that you do every week to help your company grow, to help move your company forward, put that at the top of the list. Running materials, doing whatever, calling subs, put that at the bottom of your list. You know, put the stuff that's not directly correlated to growing and building and developing your business, put that at the bottom of your list. Now take that list and take 2 or 3 things, prioritize those, and create a calendar. Go to your calendar, find time that you know, okay, this time during the week is, I probably can figure out 2 or 3 hours where I can start working on this stuff. Force it onto your calendar. Put it on there, make yourself unavailable. Let your staff know, Thursdays from 2 to 5, I'm unavailable. I'm going to my dungeon, I'm sitting in my house, sitting in my truck, locking myself in the office, and I'm gonna work on these priority things that I need to do to get my business moving to the next level. So I like to schedule time for the top things. Everything else that you can delegate. Start that process. It's you gotta, you know, and Ronnie will talk about it. He loves the saying, the whole big elephant, eat the elephant one bite at a time. It's the only way to do it. One bite at a time. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, just one brick at a time. So what this all culminates with is a block schedule. Is anybody familiar with what a block schedule is? I got 2 nods. Yeah, great. Now we're getting some real education here. Block schedule is fairly simple. What it is a schedule where you block off specific time for specific activities. And it starts with 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Whatever you can find within your schedule to block time off to work on those things that you know you want to work on the marketing, work on the development, you know, to learn something. You want to learn something more about numbers, learn how to read a P&L statement, learn how to analyze a balance sheet, learn how to do one of these things, learn something. That's what you got to do, is block off that time. So we've taken this to a whole other level where we create an entire block schedule, but we fill blocks with flexible time. Okay, so in a minute I'm going to show you my actual schedule that I've been working off of for the past 6 months to a year, and it changes as I complete certain tasks. It changes. So when you're blocking time, again, you want to leave plenty of time to be filled, because we're still going to have the random crap that comes up. So put in flex time. Put in there, okay, every afternoon from 1 to 5. That's when I'm running. That's when I'm fielding calls. That's when I'm, putting out fires and dealing with all the crap. Monday mornings is I'm going to have specific meetings with my managers. I'm going to have a meeting with my production department, a meeting with my business development or marketing or sales or whatever. Set those specific meetings in place, and then execute those. And I don't want to go super into that because Ryan's going to talk a little more about the meetings and meeting structure, but that's a whole other segment. Is once you kind of get the concept of block scheduling, you want to portray that same type of concept on your staff. And we call it a cadence. Everyone on our staff is required to, when they come on, we teach them, we show them our schedules, we teach them to build a block schedule for themselves. And it's a great way. And again, it's not a situation where you're always going to fill the schedule. You're not always going to meet all these blocks. But at least having it written down and having it on your schedule, and then taking time for yourself to analyze and prep and attack the week from an offensive perspective, not a defensive perspective, you'll start chipping away at that elephant. You'll start getting better and better and better, and all of a sudden you're going to see growth. You're going to see growth in your people. You're going to see growth in yourself. You're going to see your time start to free up. But most importantly, you're going to have more time for your family and yourself and for the fun things you want to do. I mean, when I was getting started, it was all work. I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I mean, how many people work more than 50 hours a week? Just about everybody. Right? And how many sacrifices have we had to make for our business that we couldn't attend something socially that wanted to attend, or take a trip we wanted to take, or unfortunately maybe we missed a recital or something like that because we're too handcuffed and we're too busy working in our business. So these are just some of the concepts you got to start the process of dialing in order to get to a place where you're working on your business one step at a time. So here's an example of my schedule. And I've changed this around to where it's actually, I've worked it into a bi-week schedule. Okay, I mean, this is pretty tight to where I can't necessarily have this exact schedule every single week. So a lot of the stuff is bi-weekly. But it starts off Monday morning. This is crucial. This is my me time, I like to call it. This is time where I plan. I'll go for a walk, go for a run, just sit, drink my coffee by myself with my notebook, and just think. How many of you take more than an hour a week to just sit by yourself and think? Let's start there. It's a great place to start. And how productive are you after you sit and think for an hour? And how do those days go when you actually sit down in the morning? You sit down for an hour, write yourself a list of things to do, maybe for the week, maybe for the month. It's amazing how much more productive you're going to be. Why don't we do that every day? Now, sometimes I have a 2.5-year-old with a broken leg and a wife in a third trimester and another little baby coming. So oftentimes it's 6 to 7 ends up 6:30 to 7 because I'm sleeping or I can't quite get awake. But either way, I still try to every day have just a little bit of me time to wrap my head around what I'm going to try to attack that day. And then come 8 o'clock, we've taken the initiative to make a lot of our meetings digital. So a lot of people are from this area, right, Colorado, and you already had issues getting in here because there was an accident on East 70 and on West 70. I was coming in from the east, accident, got delayed. Coming in from the west, accident, got delayed. It's a story of our lives. We have to deal with it. It is what it is. There is no such thing as a quick trip in Denver. I mean, you can go 1 mile and it takes you 2 hours, in some certain situations. So what we've done is we've gone digital, Zoom meetings. Write that down. Zoom or GoToMeeting, one of those sort of things. My commercial team, they're a lot of time they're going to be out on site. They're going to be, doing a lot of things in the morning, so I can't really expect them to be at my office or me to be at the office by 8 o'clock to have a meeting. So what do? We go digital with it. We go virtual. So we have virtual. These are virtual meetings. And what a GSR is a goal setting and review meeting. So every single meeting we have is geared towards goal setting. So every Monday I meet with my commercial team. And we set goals. We review the goals of last week. We grade ourselves. We analyze what we did right, what we did wrong, and what we can do better. And we set a goal for the next week. So I do it with the commercial team. And then this, basically the whole Monday morning from 8 till 12 there's a variation of all these different things. And they're between departments, so 30 to 45 minutes per department. So I just sit there in front of my computer for 4 hours every other Monday. And that literally, by noon on Monday, I know exactly what's going on in my entire company. I know what's on the schedule for the production department. I know what's on the schedule for the commercial department. I know what we're working on marketing-wise. I know what we're working on business development-wise. I know what kind of challenges and things I need to work on, or things I need to tackle that week just because of these organized meetings. And then obviously lunch, and then Monday afternoon, that's when I set aside time to work on marketing. I'm a marketing major. I like marketing. That's kind of my thing. So I personally, again, with the strengths and weaknesses, marketing and idealism is one of my strengths. So I try to block off time to focus on that stuff. So I personally like to deal with marketing, and luckily my partner's wife is also a marketer. She owns her own marketing company, so it's awesome that we get together on Mondays, and that's our marketing time. And then we go through Monday afternoon, crucial. This is when I'm sitting here analyzing my weekly reports and going through the MVP. What that is, I call it's my master business plan file. I have a very detailed spreadsheet that tracks absolutely everything. It tracks my booked revenue, my closed revenue, my produced revenue for all departments, as well as a whole bunch of other things. It's probably like 15 tabs long, and it grows and grows as the years go by. And that's my time I set aside to analyze my report. So my department heads give me a report every week. How much was produced? What was the revenue? What was sold? These sort of things. And that's when I track those things and update them onto my file. So Mondays are crucial. Mondays set the tone for the entire week. And then come Tuesday, this is the staff meeting. So this is when I'm actually in the office meeting with our staff, meeting with the service department, meeting with our entire staff. And then again, you notice a lot of places in here where there's planning sessions. And then Tuesdays, I've been doing this a long time, but I don't know everything. I have a business coach. I have a business coaching platform that I work very closely with, and that's one of the things that has helped tremendously with providing me with a lot of these files and a lot of these things that are out there. And maybe some of you have already been accustomed to that or heard of it. It's called the Breakthrough Academy, and we'll take it offline if you want to talk more about it. But that's a very crucial thing that helped an established company go to an entirely new level. So that's my coaching session. It's online. And then again, pick up the kid at night. Wednesdays, as some of you guys know, I just finished writing a book called Start It, Build It, Grow It, The Contractor's Guide to Success. And that's hopefully going to be out before Christmas. I'm shooting for before Christmas so I can give it to everybody for Christmas. So we just finished the final, and it's in final edit. So over the last year, this was my time I blocked out. Every Wednesday morning I worked on that. And then Thursday, as you mentioned, I created an online platform, which is an e-learning platform to teach people how to start, build, and grow their companies. And we're starting with the roofing industry specific, and it's more of just a startup platform at this point, but we're going to be expanding as we go. And again, lots of flex time in here. This time I fill with meetings. This time I fill in the office. Got to go to the office. Got to do this. Got to run around. Got to run errands. Got to go, put out fires, deal with homeowners, deal with business owners. And then Friday, I'm a golfer, so I try to block